But we have our next guest, who's the founder of Equal Space, a space where people of color, LGBTQIA, and women-owned startups could work and build a community. Let's welcome Citi Medina.
Hey, Citi. Welcome to the show.
I'm so excited to be on the show.
Well, what's with the hat?
It's actually I'm bald. I get cold easily.
Oh, okay.
We can relate.
We
We relate. I'm missing the hat, but you don't have to be cool here.
Yeah, I just like an old Spanish man. So like both my grandfathers all wore fedoras even when they cut the grass. So it's kind of like my homage to them.
Okay, your signature. Well,
And I'm taller.
Okay.
I'm physically taller now. This hat gives me like a good brim time.
Yeah, it looks very chic. Okay, first of all, how did you realize there was a need for Equal Space?
So,
What was the trigger? Like this moment, I know.
So everyone comes into their founder journey a different way. So Equal Space is my second company. I actually was a creative strategist for global brands for a long time. And then I actually got caught to pull in talent for investment companies. And I was seeing statistically, marginalized voices, people of color were just being turned away from investment, VC capital, angel investment, and there was no quantifiable reason. They were all qualitative responses. And after the first year of doing this, finding beautiful pipeline talent for women especially, and women of color, I just got tired of seeing them turned away for what's now called subconscious bias, which for me is just bias. We were just not getting access to rooms to get the capital we needed to work, and yet we controlled all the markets. So Equal Space started to become something I turned to my co-founders with from the agency. I said, I think there's a problem that we can answer. And when we looked at our studio, half of the studio, we were harboring all of these entrepreneurs. We were harboring all of these startup founders. They had nowhere to go. And we had actually chosen the city of Newark because our then
In New Jersey.
In New Jersey. So we're in Newark, New Jersey. Shout out. Our then client was Senator Cory Booker, and we were just doing this naturally, just letting them have conference time, and this was 4 years ago. So this is before the co-working mainstream.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to help marginalized voices, the talent rich, controlling all the markets, and yet couldn't find access. And that's how Equal Space was born.
Yeah, and if I may interject, I've seen many guests on this very show and some of the other shows I host. They tell me and my co-host that when you go to VC, when you go to backers, when you go to whatever meetings, if you're a woman, the bias it's very subtle, but it makes a huge difference. For example, if you're a male founder or male founders, they ask you, oh, how's the growth going to be? What do you expect, this to grow in the next 5, 6, 7 years? If you're a woman, they're like, oh, well, that may not work, right? So it's the way they ask questions, the way they prep you to get you into this not so rosy mindset, which I don't like, right?
They shake your game too.
Yeah.
They do it as a shake tactic. I spoke for Forbes for their social impact last year, and some of the questions are meant to shake, especially women founders. It's like, what's your life plan? Do you see kids in your future?
Yes.
I'm like, what does any of that have to do with the trajectory of her business model? For those of color, sometimes it's their expertise is questioned. Oh, maybe you should spend a couple more years in the market, or perhaps you haven't done your due diligence. This is a niche market. And I'm like, niche? Like the LGBT community is a $3 trillion community. Yeah. Women of color are leading in buying, education, travel. No, these are not niche markets. I don't think you want to realize the markets have shifted. Yeah. And so I agree with you. It's like, why are you intentionally doing it? If not just to null and void their access to even incubator programs.
And even for women, when we say, oh, I don't ever planning on having kids, they don't believe me.
No.
Right? Even though I'm like, I swear I will not do that because I love working.
And even if so, there are an exponential amount of women founders who have children who are brilliant.
Successful.
Children are not a hindrance.
Yeah.
And I think that's why Equal Space is so important to me as a structure that is built from the ground up culturally to validate voices that are oftentimes nullified. So, it's every day. One day you'll come into our space and we're playing Afro beats. The next day it's like samba. Our programming reflects multicultural perspectives. We partner with Google. We partner with Newark, founders, investors of color like Lorraine Pendleton. She's an amazing woman, LGBTQ advocate and an investor, a VC investor. She'll sit and coach. And so for me, doing those things allows those startups to exponentially grow and feel validated. And when you have to go back out there and meet VC, you feel strong and armed to kind of win.
So at the beginning of this, we talked a lot about spaces being collaborative and offering opportunities for people to really work together and get to know each other in a very special way. Part of your company's message is building a community. How do you promote building a community in your spaces?
So I think it starts with the founders too. So I co-work in my space. You will see me every other day, nearly every day in both campuses. We have two campuses. Programmatically, I think you need to create opportunities for people to work together. So we have everything from certification courses to really creating skill set programs that will help your startups grow. We do introductions, and we have a digital network. So when you become what we call a spacer, you can then go look for what gaps are on your team through our digital network in order to find a CTO, to find a CEO. We also are huge on our signature events. So we have something called Women Innovation. It's a women-led, women-orchestrated event that we just get to like help orchestrate. And it's women talking not just about their obstacles, but the ways that they're winning and sharing those strategies with younger women. It allows generational connection. I think that even exists in startup world where there's like the younger moving crowd, an older moving crowd, and they think they don't meet. So we create these like cross-generational conversations, and that connects a lot of gaps that our startup founders have. I love women innovation. Actually, we have our sponsors, instead of just sponsoring us fiscally, we ask them to sponsor tickets for those who can't garner access. And one of our sponsors, shout out to Aisha Glover, she purchased tickets for a young not-for-profit that deals with young women who are the victims of, thoughts of suicide or in need of programming. One of those young women asked such a great question at Women Innovation that a panelist gave them a spot at the TEDx at NJIT. So she'll be speaking this fall, actually September 12th, I think. She'll be a TEDx speaker, and I think she's only like 16, 17.
Could I also add, based on all of the collaborativeness that you've been a part of and seen, what has been any of the feedback that you've gotten from any person that has been in the space?
So, I mean, the most valid ones are like people who are WeWorkers. Like, WeWork is huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they'll come into our space and they'll be like, oh my God, this actually has heart. That's probably the biggest compliment, is like, I feel like community when I come here. As opposed, anyone can build desks, anyone can build walls, but it's like having that culture built into it without it being talked. Our lobby is actually designed by a woman of color. Her name's Neffy Walker. She's like huge influencer, and she designed this space, and we've had guests come in and go, I feel like I'm in like a Harlem Renaissance living room. Those things, like when they're valid, when they're like, this is the best event I've been to, those are like the validators for us. But I think it's mostly when I see them grow, when I see our founders and startups grow. Some of them, one of our anchor tenants is the Port Authority of New York, New Jersey. And they're directly with us to create small business opportunities in each of the terminals because they're redoing every single airport. So seeing our small businesses connect with like getting into the airport, that's the dream for some of our startups in Equal Space. Yeah. Those are the things I look at and I'm like, that's dope.
Yeah, and which cities are you currently in? Like, which cities can people find your facilities?
So currently we're headquartered in Newark, which is a multicultural city. So we have two campuses. One is in the Gateway Center, which is directly connected to Newark Penn Station. And that's for transit more spacers who have to go to JFK, or they have to take the Acela, or they have to go to Philadelphia. You can do that from Newark very quickly. And then our other campus is 2 blocks from there. What we're doing now is we're opening up for the first time. We're meeting with investors. The full vision of Equal Space is to have an equal space on the multicultural side of every major city. Because that's the other validator. People who come to Equal Space have never heard of a co-working space of color that we command like 8,000 square feet of working, and that's big for co-working spaces that are led by multicultural founders. Typically they max out at 1,000. So we think that our solution is something that most major cities need. So
I mean, our viewers tune in from all over the country, sometimes outside of the United States. Which major cities are on your radar?
So we have an algorithm. So not of them are some of our choices are not what most people would think. So if we're going to LA, we're talking about like Crenshaw, LA. We're talking about like Chicano, LA. Not WeHo. Love you, WeHo. But that's not like. Let me be clear. Like for the culture, I do hang out in West Hollywood, but it's more the centers of color for the tale of two cities. Other cities that we've explored are like Tulsa, Oklahoma. And not for the reasons that you think. Tulsa is once a huge, great American city. It also leads in the incarceration of black women. And so Equal Space belongs on the site where we're creating solutions through tech, not just the shiny parts of city. Wynwood District of Miami is another city we've gone through. It's an arts renaissance in Wynwood, but it's also pushing out multicultural voices. If we put an Equal Space in that city center, then we can exponentially increase wealth building. We have courses for coders. Coders come up making 70,000 entry. If we were to put that in the hands of youth that need it, how could they then change their neighborhoods? So it's not just the tech side of like companies growing. It's like community-driven impact through technology.
Okay.
Well, that's wonderful. You have so much energy and passion behind what you're doing, and we just hope that you continue to expand.
Yeah, good luck. I really, just for personal, saying, I like the part that it makes it easier for people to find their next chief technology officer. I mean, if you're not a tech founder, of course, and if you're a tech founder, the challenge, like, oh, where do you find my next CMO, right?
Because those gaps are real.
Yeah.
Like, you need that. You need a CMO. You need a developer. You need someone who looks at UX, UI.
Yeah.
So you need those connections. I love that. I love all of the above, though. I'm like a tech junkie.
Yeah. All right.
Amazing. Citi Medina, thank you for joining us.
Good luck.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
Truly.